Hello, this is Rabbit. Today I'm going to do a video about the basics of ball jointed dolls. There's a lot of beginners out there, and I know that when I started I had a ton of questions, and a video like this probably would have been pretty helpful. So in the description below, I'm going to put a link to Den of Angels, which is a good place to start for everybody. It's a pretty large doll forum, and there's like a lot of information on there. So you just kind of have to search around, start up an account, and just browse. I'm also going to put a link below to Haru Casting on Flickr because a lot of people ask about the prices and why these dolls are so expensive. And I think if you see the process of how they're made and see some of the individual artists and stuff, that will help answer some of the questions. Also, if you're on Facebook, I suggest that you go to a ball jointed doll group because there's a lot of people that you can talk to personally there. Okay, so as far as when you start shopping around and looking at ball jointed dolls, there are some terms that come up that you're not going to know exactly what they mean, mostly because of the sizing. You'll see SD, SD17, YoSD, that kind of thing, and that means nothing if you don't know. So, first of all, those terms come from the original ball jointed doll company, which is Volks. SD stands for Super Dolphy, and it later became just kind of a generalized term because every company has their own kind of terms for different sizes. Like if you go on Ippelhaus or Ippelhaus, however you want to pronounce that, they have like EID, which is Elder Ippelhaus doll, and YID, which is Youth. They're all comparable to the SD type sizes. So SD13 is a pretty standard size for guys and girls. It's anywhere around 53 at the very smallest, which I have a Zol Love, and she is about that size. She's right here. Her pants are pulled up. She is 52, I believe, actually, but she's still considered SD size because she's too big to be the next size down. So they're going to be 53 to like 64 centimeters. Anything bigger than that is probably going to be called an SD17, which is like 65, usually like 72 centimeters, but I mean, there's even like up to 80 centimeter dolls. Those might be in a class of their own, especially when you're shopping for clothes and stuff. Then there is the MSD size, which is Mini Super Dolphy, is what that used to stand for. And they're about 40 to 45 centimeters. They're going to be like your mini fees and stuff like that from Fairyland are that size. I don't actually have one of those to show you right now because they're not one of my favorite sizes. Most of mine are like the SD size. After that is the YoSD size, and they're about 35 to 25 centimeters approximately. I actually have two of those. This is a Narsha from the same artist that does the Zol that I showed you. You can see she's about 35 centimeters. And then her sister is a Ippelhaus Bjd, and she's significantly shorter. She's about that short in comparison. And she, I think, is like in the 20 centimeter, 25, but I'm not sure. I'd have to measure her. I actually don't remember exactly how tall she is. Anything smaller than like in the 20 centimeters is going to be considered a tiny, which is like the Pookies and stuff like that from Fairyland, or a lot of Anthro dolls are kind of odd sizes like that. So I don't have any Anthros either. One day I kind of hope to have one of those, but I don't have any to show you today. So anyway, that is all the sizes. Another thing that you're going to come up against is the jointing systems. Ball jointed dolls are strung internally with like a stretchy kind of cord, and then on their hands and feet and their head they have what's called an S hook. Um, this is Charlotte. She's my soul doll Rye. She is what's called a double jointed doll. In her arms and legs, she has 1, 2, and 3 pieces in there. That's where the double comes in, because she has this kind of, if you stretch this out, you can actually see the cords inside. And she's got this little peanut piece, which double jointed dolls usually pose a little bit better than single jointed dolls. She can keep her arm tucked in like that. Her legs are also double jointed. This is actually an invisible double joint from the front here because you can't see it, but from the back you can see where this, sorry, she's white skinned, so it's kind of hard to see, but she's got this joint, and when you bend her leg, it bends in 2 different places. So from the side, she can do this with her knee. It looks a little weird when she doesn't have like pants on or skirts or whatever, but they do pose a lot better, hold those poses a lot better than Julia here is my Zol love, and she is single jointed, which I love her to death, but sometimes, like when you want her to hold her arm up like this, see how it like kind of just springs back because she doesn't have that joint in her elbow. It's just like 2 pieces. This part is like sculpted onto there like that. Her legs are also like that. So, there's things that you can do to help these single jointed dolls pose a little better. A lot of people add sueding in the joint sockets and wiring. I've never actually wired my dolls before because I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like skeptical of wires inside my dolls, and I kind of like them a little bit floppy to play with. So, anyway, you can experiment with that. There's lots of forums and things that'll tell you how to do that. Anyway, that's as far as the jointing systems go. There's a few newer companies that have some like crazy joining systems that I don't have any dolls that are really that complicated, but they have some that just, I mean, the sculpting ingenuity is just getting amazing anymore. But, yeah, so it just depends on whether you want them to be really good at posing or if you're just looking at the aesthetics of it. So when you go to order your doll, you're also going to have questions about different eye types and wig types. My personal favorite eye types are glass or silicone eyes. Mostly because I feel that they reflect light a little bit better. Acrylics is your standard eye that is going to come free with most dolls. This is an acrylic eye. It's basically just like glorified plastic. They have quite a bit of detail in the iris and stuff because I think these are actually like printed and then like, I don't know exactly how they're made, but the iris is more detailed, but they have this weird like dome over them that reflects light in kind of a bizarre way, and it doesn't look very realistic sometimes. They do, however, have the little backs on them, which is nice when you're trying to put the eyes in the head, which I'll show you how to do that in a second. Sorry, my screen's like in reverse when I'm recording, so that's why I'm all over the place. These are glass eyes, and you'll notice that these are actually a really plain looking pair of glass eyes, but you see the light kind of reflect in them like that. When they're in your doll, they just catch the light so much better, especially for dolls that have small eye sockets, because once you put like applied eyelashes and stuff like that on them, it can be hard to see their eyes, and then you have like dark demon eye syndrome, and nobody wants that. But most glass eyes have a little peg on the back as well. The only thing with glass eyes is that they usually are hand blown, so sometimes the dome is the part that sticks out right here. sometimes the domes are really high on glass eyes, and it's hard to fit them in your doll's head, especially if you want your doll looking up or to the side or something. It'll look funky. So in that case, I really like silicone eyes, because this is a silicone eye. They're actually like squishy. You can see that it kind of like gives. And they're flat on the back, so they're a little hard to position when you put them in the doll's head. But they reflect light like glass eyes. The only cons to these is, like I said, they are a little harder position in the head, just because they kind of move around a lot because they're so flat. But they also have kind of a rubbery texture, so if you like handle them a lot, they get fingerprints and stuff on them, and they collect dust really easy. I just wipe them off with a little bit of water, and if they're in your doll's head, you can take like a wet Q-tip and just kind of wipe them off. You can see that they have a lot more detail in that iris, so they're really pretty. Those are Ico eyes, and I really like, I have several pairs of eyes from them, and they have awesome products. And they're not really that expensive. A lot of them are like $16 or something. There's a premium pair of eyes that I bought that were like almost $40. But if it's really the only pair of eyes that your doll's going to be wearing, I think it's worth it. Okay, moving on to wig types. There's about 3 different kinds of wig types too. I think, kind of. There's a synthetic fur type wig, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but it looks really cool half the time, if you can get it styled right. This is Alex, and he's wearing a synthetic fur. It's kind of like what stuffed animals and stuff are made out of. It's soft and it's stylable, so like you can kind of move the hairs. I don't want to mess up his hair because he's like gonna get mad at me, but I actually cut this one, like trimmed it in the back because it was kind of long. But you can style it, you can part it the way you want it. When you get them, they look like scary, like, and then you put them on your doll and you're like, what the heck is this? I'm not gonna be able to do anything with this, but you just play around with it. I suggest using like a fork, like a plastic like throwaway fork instead of a comb, because if you get really fine tines or whatever, like on a comb, it's gonna get like fluffy, and you don't want that because it looks scary. So you want to kind of style it in chunks. So I actually just use a plastic fork that I got at the deli. The other kind of wig is, put your arm down, Charlotte, is this kind of wig. It's, this is a synthetic, just normal kind of wig. It's made with like, most of the time they say like heat resistant or whatever on them. There's a lot of different styles in this wig, and it's one of the most common wigs. Julie was wearing those. The other 2 little girls were wearing those. This is a nice wig if you want to find something that's pre-styled that you don't have to mess with. This one is just a short kind of curly bob cut. It's not, most of hers are like that because I just don't like messing with the longer styles. And then there's a third kind of wig that is actual like animal hair wigs. There's 2 of these. You can order them online, or you can make them yourself. Some really awesome artists that make them. They make them with glue. They sew them. The one that I have is this one. London's like really super exposed. Sorry, he's like really white. But this is super soft, and I'm not sure, I think this is like Angora, like goat or something. This one is actually on a hide. So if you're like vegan or something, you wouldn't want this kind of wig, because this is like an actual like animal dyed for this kind of wig. But you can get, I'm sorry, that's sick, but it's true. There's also ones that you can get that are made out of animal hair that like are not like on the hide. They're just like the fur, and then you glue it on a wig cap. I don't have any of those like that, or I would show you, but those ones you can actually make yourself, and I've seen some really cool stuff with those. This is another one. These wigs, they look really cool if you can style them right, but like this one I ordered and it's insane. I mean, it's just like this furry mass. So later on today I'm actually going to see if I can like do something with this cuz I think this one is actually on a piece of leather too, so it's an animal hide one. But anyway, that's the different kinds of wigs. Like I said, the synthetic ones are like the easiest to find, easiest to style. If you just don't want to mess with it, that's the one that you want to go for. Another thing, I was showing you London, and he's super pale. That is a white skin doll. There are like 3 basic colors when you go to order a doll. Most of the time, only 2. Alex here, and this is kind of super exposed, but he's actually more of a peachy color. Um, the resin colors kind of depend on which company you're ordering from. This is a Soul doll, and he's kind of more of a peachy, but I have ones from like Bjd doll, and theirs is kind of more yellowy. So, if you're looking to make like a hybrid doll with like that's like a head from one company and a body from another, you want to make sure that you get kind of an idea of what the resin's gonna look like together, because a lot of times they won't match at all. So I wouldn't suggest making a hybrid doll until you've done a lot of research. London and Charlotte are the white skin. And the white skin is kind of nice because over time your resin kind of fades, or what they call yellows, and white skin doesn't really like change at all because it has no pigmentation to it to fade. Some companies' white skins actually have some pigmentation to them, but this is Soul Doll white skin, and it's almost paper white. It's pretty white. Like, you can see she's pretty much like glowing in this lighting. My dolls have faded over time. I have dolls that are like 8 years old. My Ipple House dolls, my old YIDs, their faces and their hands are like really pale and almost kind of green yellow in some lightings. But if you take your doll apart and soak it in some peroxide and what is it, peroxide and baking soda, you can kind of get rid of that yellowy tone. So I don't have a tan skin doll with me yet because I have him on layaway. But the tan skin dolls are probably one that you want to watch out for. They're beautiful, but if you put them in too much sunlight, they actually, some companies are worse than that. They actually kind of turn green over time. So just be careful if you buy a tan skin doll. Also, when you get your doll, they have, I can't actually see hers, but they have what's called seam lines where they cast them and the resin has that little seam there. I think hers were actually sanded because I don't see them. But some companies sand them and some don't. The tan skin dolls usually do not have sanded seams because of the way the resin is. It will make it lighter where that sanding is. So if you get a tan skin doll, you probably are just going to want to leave the seams alone. Otherwise, you'll have like light spots on them and stuff. So, yeah, tan skin's a little bit more high maintenance, but it's worth it if it's what you really want, because they are gorgeous. But yeah, just don't put them in direct sunlighting. My dolls sit around in my room, and I open my curtains and whatever. I don't just like, they don't have full sunlight on them, but they're not like hiding in a closet somewhere. I know a lot of people store their dolls in boxes. These dolls are also not as fragile as you might think they are. Their fingers and things like that are thin, but they're not gonna like snap off just from handling. You'd have to drop them or something like that. I do have to warn you though that sometimes when you buy these dolls, the companies will cast them kind of thin right in the eye area. So make sure that if you hold your doll up to the light, you can see how thin the resin is. If your doll has kind of thin resin in here, be careful when you put the eyes in, because you could kind of like break this resin. And I've never done that, but I'm just saying it's good to know. Okay, I'm going to show you how the eyes go in, actually, because I've been talking about it, but I haven't shown you. This wig, you can just pull their wigs off. She has this little cap underneath. This is just a rubbery thing. I suggest getting one of these if you're going to get a synthetic wig, because it does help hold the wig on a little bit better and it doesn't shift. Okay, this system she has was called a head cap, and it's magnetic. It just pops on and off like that. Some, like my Zoll, has a faceplate where her face actually pops off, and then this part is on right there. Okay, in the inside of her head, you'll see this is her S-hook, and this is where her strings, you can see the base of her strings right there. That's where they're held on. You can actually remove their head really easy, and when I first got them, I was like, oh my god, I'm not taking her head off, but it's super, super easy. You just stick your finger in here, turn the S-hook, and it'll catch on her neck, like that, and just take her head right off. This is her, like, the back of her eyes in there. That's her eye putty. You can get white. I prefer the white sticky tack. The blue stuff can actually stain their resin, so, and it's not as sticky as the white stuff for some reason. So, if you don't have the eye putty, it usually comes with the doll when you buy it. But if you don't have it, you can buy the white sticky tack. And it works just as well as this stuff. Anyway, that I usually take their heads off when I put their eyes in, because you can see the S-hooks kind of gets in the way. But that's how you change their eyes. You can position their eyes any way you want and stuff. My favorite part about these dolls is that they're so customizable. I mean, you just do anything. These dolls, I actually, I painted all these myself. But, okay, when you go to order a doll, they're going to have face-up options on there. Face-up is like a ball-jointed doll term for makeup. We don't say makeup because makeup is like something that you add to your face. Face-up is like they don't have a face. So, they have their eyebrows painted on and all that. So when you get it, if you don't order a face-up, you're going to get your doll totally blank. And I don't know, if you're a beginner, you might not have seen this, and I don't actually have one with me right now that's blank, but they don't have any eyebrows or any kind of color at all to their face. So, don't order them without a face unless you're going to paint it yourself or you're going to send it to someone else to paint it for you, because when they say it really is blank. Company face-ups are great. They usually have them to go with like any kind of hairstyle. They have the eyebrows are usually kind of a vague brownish, grayish color. The only thing I don't like about company ones is they're kind of generic. So, you can also do custom face-ups through a lot of companies, so that's kind of an option if you want something a little more original, if you want freckles or something like that. So that's cool. I never did any of those just because I was like, I'm gonna redo these eventually myself anyway. So, yeah, face-ups, that's a whole nother video. But, when you have your doll, you don't want to touch their face too much because they have layers of sealant on there, and if you handle it too much, you get that grease from your fingers on it. So I suggest if you're moving their heads to kind of like grab their ears and move them like that. They do scuff really easy too, so any place that has that overcoat on it, like if they have blushed hands, this doll, she has, well, you can't see because it's so bright, but she has, like a manicure, and, so I did put some, overcoat on her hands. I used, MSC, which is Mr. Super Clear. There's a couple other brands that you can use, but I just, use that one all the time, so I don't really trust any other brands. But yeah, you can order body blushing, seam sanding. I've never had seam sanding on any of my. Personally, the seams don't really bother me that much unless they're sharp. So which most of mine you can't even see the seams. I would show you, but like I said, you can't really see them, especially on camera. Okay, I was also going to talk about the secondhand market. I bought like at least $3 or $4 from the secondhand market. Secondhand market is great because you can get a doll for a lot cheaper and probably a lot faster than you would if you bought it from a company. However, I do have a few warnings about the secondhand market. Den of Angels, you're going to be pretty safe there because they are like really strict about recast dolls. I am against recast dolls because I want the money to go to the artists who created the dolls. Some people, there's a whole big argument about recasts, and I won't get into that. But I'm going to warn you that there are a lot of recast dolls out there, and you want to make sure that you're either buying it from an official company or when you buy secondhand dolls that they have some kind of a certificate of authenticity. Or a lot of company dolls, if they don't have the certificate, a lot of them have... I don't know if you can see, you can kind of see how in the inside of her head it says Rye, and then I think it has JH in there, which is the artist's initials, and it says Soul Doll. Usually these dolls have something like that. A lot of dolls have also a plate glued on the back of their head that shows the company's name. So look for certificate of authenticity, a plate, or signed by the artist, or their original box. If they don't have any of those things, it's kind of iffy. I personally wouldn't buy it if it didn't have at least one of those things. Good first places to buy dolls if you're not going to do secondhand. I really like Alice Collections because they have a variety of different companies and dolls and stuff that you can kind of browse. They have a lot of companies on there that don't have English-speaking like websites, so that's kind of cool. You can buy it through Alice Collections. Their customer service is awesome. I really highly recommend them. They're really good to deal with. There's a seller on eBay, and I'll put a link below. I don't know exactly. I think it's pronounced Jiriyama. I also like them because they have a lot of different variety of dolls, and their customer service is great as well. There's a couple other companies, Junkie Spot and Denver Doll Emporium, if you live in the US, is kind of nice. Sometimes they'll have items that are in stock, so you won't have to wait as long. The wait time depends on the company. Some companies, they'll have an event where they just send dolls out like as soon as you order them, but most of the time you have to wait for them to make the doll for you, which in a way is kind of nice because you know it's not just sitting around getting stuffed up in a warehouse somewhere. They're actually like casting that doll especially for you, which I don't know about you, but that makes me feel kind of special. But some of my dolls I waited about a month for. Ipple House, usually, I don't know about their turnaround rate anymore, but when I ordered from them, they only took about a month. They probably take longer than that now because they're a bigger company and they have more orders. But I think the longest I've ever waited for a doll was about 4 months, which is actually not that bad considering. Some doll companies take like anywhere from 6 months to a year, especially if it's like some kind of a limited doll or something like that. So make sure that before you order your doll, you kind of research the company you're buying it from and approximately how long. Den of Angels actually has a waiting room forum, which is awesome because you can hang out with other people while you're waiting for your doll. Also, while you're waiting for your doll, you can order wigs and clothes and eyes and things like that. So it's kind of nice to keep yourself entertained. This video is getting about half an hour long, so I'm going to try to wrap this up because it was supposed to be an overall basics. I think that's about it. I hope that the links below are helpful to you. I hope that this helped clear up some things. I'm sure there's like 100 videos out there about basics, but just in case, I hope I covered pretty much everything and gave you guys some good visuals. Thank you for watching my channel, and Good luck with your doll endeavors.